Hello, my name is Gilbert. I'm a student in the Bachelor's of Arts program at College for America, New Hampshire University. I'm working on a project called Bend the News, Credibility and Validity. I'm going to help you understand how to test credibility and validity for news. It can be a printed or a video story that you're listening or reading. So I have stories here that I'm going to evaluate whether they pass the IMVAN test, that is independent versus self-interest, multiple sources versus one source, verifies or assets, authoritative and informed or versus uninformed, and named or unnamed. So I'm going to do this test with the stories that I selected. The story one is Grief and Protest for Shooting of a Teenager by the New York Times. The story was released on 10th of August 2010. The second story is Vicious Assault Shakes Texas Down by the New York Times. It was released on 3rd of August 2011. And the third story is Apple announces iPhone 6 and iPhone 6 Plus, the biggest advancement in iPhone history. It was released by Apple Press Info on the 9th August 2014. So starting on the first story, that is grief and protest for shooting of teenager. This source is independent. Why? This is because the source of this information has no outcome from the releasing information. They are not benefiting in any way. They are not talking about their financial status staffs. They are not talking about their family relatives so that they can be biased. They are independent. They have no interest in releasing the information. Regarding multiple sources and versus one source, this story tried to use multiple sources in where they tried to consult people who have different ideas about the idea. The scene, this is where a teenager was killed. So they tried to reach out to people who supported the police who shot him. They tried to reach to people who say the police was wrong, and they were just not basing on one source of information. They didn't talk to the family members of the guy who was killed or talk to the police who killed him alone. They reached out to different people to get critical information about the scene. Verifies versus assets. This source tried to verify the facts that they gathered. The fact that they were reaching out to different people, it was just verifying what they heard from one source with the other source, which one would be true. Like the last police that they reached out said that the police who killed the teenage was to be imprisoned 6 years. That was to verify whether the first police was telling the truth or was trying to defend him. But the fact that they reached to a police who would not do the same, it was verifying the fact, the previous fact, the next fact, seeing what would give the real information. Authoritative and informed versus uninformed. This source is not authoritative because they have no power to investigate, but they are informed because they did research. They conducted research, interviews to reach to the information which was correct to be published. The source of this news is also named because we know who is the writer, who is the publisher, that is New York Times. So it is named. You can know the person accountable of the information. In my view, this story is newsworthy because it is prominent It is telling a very important story. Everyone needs to know about what's going on Black Americans. So let's go to the second story, that is Vicious Assault Shakes Texas Down by the New York Times again. So this story also is independent because New York Times has no benefit from publishing this story. There are no financial, no familial, no politics, no what. So it is independent. It also uses multiple sources because they also tried to reach out to people with different views on the story, which is a good idea to use multiple sources. They also quoted some other websites that talked about the topic. This source doesn't verify facts, it only gives them, but they are not trying to make verification seeing whether they are true. They just tried to list them, but that's different from verifying. So the source of the news is also not authoritative because the New York Times has a lot of publishing, not a lot of investigating, and here they couldn't investigate the case, the assault of the girl in the Texas. They only report. So they were informed because they conducted research on the topic, but they are not authoritative because it's not their role to investigate. Yeah, the source is named because you can see who is the writer, who is the publisher. It is easy to identify the person or the organization accountable of this information released. The story is also credible because the facts are given, but the facts are given and we know who is publishing the story, who is writing, where did it happen. Everything is identified. The only issue with it is that I wonder why they didn't show the video that in the story they said was taken when the girl was assaulted, because in the story there is where they mentioned that the video was even shown to some other students at their school. But why can't we see it to further prove what they're saying? This is newsworthy because it is telling us what's going on in Texas. It's telling reality, I assume, because some facts are there to prove, but this is a newsworthy story. Now to the last story. Apple announces iPhone 6 and iPhone 6 Plus, the biggest advancement in iPhone history, by Apple Press Info. This story is not independent. It's self-interested. This is because Apple is kind of advertising. They are seeking financial outcome. They want people to believe in their product and buy. The story also doesn't use multiple sources. They only talked about Apple and their readers, what they think. There is no testimonials from different people who have used their product. They are only telling us what Apple thinks of their product. This story doesn't verify facts, it only asserts them, it is listing them. They are telling us the goodness of battery, the goodness of iPhone's camera. They're telling us all details about the phones, but there is no verification. It's just asserting. This source is authoritative because it is released by Apple, which has power upon their product. They are also informed because they know how they produce their phones, their product. They are informed. They can release real information about such product at some point. The source is also named because you can see it is released by Apple, the industry that produces such product. Now this news It's not newsworthy, it's not credible. It's hard to be credible because this is self-interested. Like I said, the Apple is in need of making interest, is in need of making sales, so it's easy for them to terrorize in order to seduce people to buy their product. So we cannot be much sure of the information that they are providing, making the story not credible. Also, it's not newsworthy, it's kind of advertising, marketing. It's not really news to release, to inform people, to educate them. Yeah, it's not. So hoping this helps you learn how to test a story or a video that you get using this IMVAN test. Thank you so much for your time taken to listen to my video. Awesome.